We also would have a committee, either a newly created one or something like the Finance Advisory Board. The Mayor and Commission has said that's a great idea to represent the public. And we would issue, and we hope to have a better stepped up improvement in how we communicate with the residents. You know, we've tried with the newsletter, which is really sort of new to us, and a revamped website. We want to take that to the next level so that you can access information more readily. And part of this process will be making all that available to you on a regular basis. There would be regular reports to the Mayor and Commission, so that transparency would exist. Was a mailer sent saying bond would not affect renters? Isn't it true that landlords will raise rents to cover increased taxes? The property taxes paid by the owner is up to the owner. How that gets translated is something that we're not involved in. Taxes and all the fees and everything may be included in how they calculate those market rates, but generally rents and leases are set on what the market bears. Does Lake Worth have an impact fee for all of the feature building? We do have certain requirements, and Mr. Waters is here to go into more detail about getting people who may be developing on vacant properties to contribute. I'll give you an example. I know that we just had a new firm move in out off of Outlaw Road, and they're giving us right away and doing some other things. So the answer is yes, we do have them contribute something where appropriate. Why didn't the town hall meetings start earlier? Than August 22nd. Oh, okay. I don't think we have been given enough financial information. The meetings have been going on for almost 2 years. This has been something that's been pared down and talked about and hashed back and forth, back and forth. You know, at the end of the day, this is what has been directed by the Mayor and Commission to put out as a conservative listing of projects. And it's based on empirical data generated by experts and engineers. And this is the program. It's fairly straightforward if you look at it. What the cost is, what the impact projected to be on your tax bill, and what it will do. It's pretty straightforward. Since I'm paying for, this is a taxpayer, unbiased information, why has no one mentioned any negative information? Okay, I'm not sure that's a question. Anyway, I hope this information is understandable and straightforward as can be. Why is there so much opposition to the project? How will other repairs be made that cannot be in the proposed zone? This will take care of a significant part of the city that's languished. Hopefully, as the city valuation base grows, as the economic model of this city grows, and we start to see our fortunes change, we can get on a better maintenance schedule with the other parts of the city. There's a lot of things, as was said, was dropped out of that $200 million. I can tell you, staff, I have staff who are working in trailers and have been since the hurricanes of 04 and 05. And the reason is we haven't had the money to build new buildings. Now we constantly move around, and that's something that's an asset of the city that you own. We won't be doing those until we can generate enough revenue as a city to actually take care of those. So it's not included in this bond issue. That was decided not to do. They wanted to be very conservative in what was done. But we hope to see the fortunes of the city change as more people bring their lives and investments here. And then we can get at those other maintenance issues. How will contracts be awarded to complete the improvements? That's a very specific process that's governed by state law. It's also governed by our ordinances. Things are put out for bid. There's a lot of checks and balances. It's something we do day in and day out. It's something cities and counties do all the time. We do have a competitive bid process. I support making improvements, but is this the best way? It is really, for this type of investment, the only way. A general obligation bond is how cities do these kinds of things. How has the project management company been selected? No, the project management company hasn't been selected. No bonds have been issued. Nothing has moved forward with this. It has to be approved or disapproved by the voters before these kinds of things can happen. And Professional services like that also has to go through a state-dictated process that's objective and actually vets these firms. What safeguards are there that the intent of the bond will be carried out if staff and commissioners change? Again, the legal things that I went over and the reporting processes, the oversight, those are all the things that as an organization we're committed to, regardless of who's in these seats. That's how you set up a well-run organization. It doesn't matter if you change the players out, it keeps moving. And we've got that level of professionalism. We've got a lot of changes in our process that I hope you're seeing, that your city has stepped up to the plate, that we're performing much better, and that regardless of who's in this seat here, these things go forward with or without us, and they're done according to the law and to the plans that were laid out. And those safeguards are in the documents, everything from the ballot language to the contracts to the bond language dictates how that is spent. Can power lines be buried at the same time as road paving? And saltwater intrusion problem that is being addressed, potable water. Well, we talked some about the power line issue. Power lines are not included in this bond. So the answer is no. Is saltwater intrusion a problem? That's actually being addressed and studied through some of the wells that we're moving further west to get away from the salt water. And of course we have an RO plant, so the city's actually pretty advanced in the issue of the permitting and the requirements for saltwater issues. Will preferences be given to local businessmen and firms? And local, I'm assuming Palm Beach County, or when you say local preference, I love Lake Worth, but you don't have huge firms in here that do multi-million-dollar types of work necessarily. So it'd be kind of against your better judgment to restrict it geographically just to Lake Worth. The South Florida area, that's a possibility. We would address that as we go forward with each of the contracts. Are change orders in the projects accrued for, are they usually accounted for? Oh yes, there's contingencies based in the numbers. There shouldn't be any change orders in this because unlike building a building or a bridge, which is a fairly complicated process of an engineering and construction, road work, think about it, cities and counties have miles and miles of road work. Work is done a lot. We know how to do this. This is the basic meat and potatoes kind of dirt engineering, and we're good at it, and that's what cities do. So there shouldn't be change orders, but we did have some contingencies built in. Is there a plan B? The mayor has a funny saying. She goes, well, this is the first time we had a plan A. The city, in our current finances, based on the valuations that we have in the city, because we're highly undervalued, doesn't generate enough money to pay for bonds, to generate this much money to do all this catch-up work. It just doesn't. What we will do at this point would be continue with the utility work that was already planned for and budgeted for. That's not part of the road system. And they would basically patch the roads, but do the utility work, put in the fire hydrants, do that, and spend that money, but not coordinate the road program. And we would continue to patch, which is what we budget for now. We have identified all the roads that need to be done. It's based on empirical data. If we don't have the money, we just keep bumping it out and repairing. That's plan B at this point. Is money going to be used exclusively for road sidewalks and hydrants? Everything as spelled out in the ballot language is within the rights of way and it includes those items. You say assumptions is that Lake Worth valuation will increase 4%. But by law, individual properties cannot increase more than 3%. And that is true if you have a homesteaded property, and Save Our Homes caps out what your valuation grows each year. But that doesn't address, as I said, some of the new property. There are people buying into this city whose taxable valuation is starting out pretty close to what their market value is. And they're going to be paying a lot more taxes as they buy these new homes. If you build new properties on vacant, that comes in at market value. And so as you're seeing the city sort of refill itself with functional investment in properties, And I want to make it very clear, when I talk about the city refilling itself, you know, the mayor and commission have approved a land development regulation set of rules on how the city would look and function. And it's not trying to be a Delray, it's not trying to be a West Palm Beach, and God knows it's not trying to be a Fort Lauderdale. It's trying to be the best version of ourselves. And that governs that redevelopment. As we see people moving in and building to that set of rules, those properties come on at a greater valuation, which would more than make up for the properties that are locked in at a 3% a year cap, if that makes sense. You're going to see a growth in the base, even while some properties kind of just grow along at 3%. Wow. Want to keep going? Is the bond plan approved unanimously by all commissioners? Proceeding forward, we had a 4-to-1 on that. How many years will taxes go up? Well, specifically to the bond, as I spelled out, in order to generate the needed revenue to make the payments, there are 3 projected increases for this debt. And they would show up where your property tax is for Lake Worth. It would be under that in a debt service, and it would be reflected there. So that would be 3 different borrowings, 3 different increases. Will all taxpayers pay? We kind of addressed that, showing that somehow somebody got out there with the information that 80% of the people in the city don't pay taxes. And that's just not true. Okay? Everybody pays something for the most part. There are some properties, some not-for-profits, for example, and there are some properties, because of exemptions, they don't pay any taxes. That is true. But it's not 80%. Okay? Of the properties that are valued at $10,000 taxable value and less, that's about 12% of the total value of the city. What are the consequences if we wait? It's kind of like asking the plan B. We will continue to patch, and this will be a problem potentially for many, many years until we figure out how to catch up, which is really what this is. It's a catch-up program. Is there any more? Is that good? Before we close, I just want to say a couple of things. It's been a tremendous honor to have been selected to be the city manager by the Mayor and Commission. Moving into the city in the last couple of years has been a real treat. I've met so many nice people, and like a family, you know, everybody's got different personalities, they got different opinions, and I love that. It's great to see the opinions expressed, the debate. It's very healthy. This is a very unique and wonderful community that we have here. I'm very proud to be a part of it. However this goes, this is something that you have to weigh out, the information that you receive, but please ask the questions, take the time. It's very important. All these issues and many more that will be confronting you as we move forward as a city. And the mayor and all the elected officials, they're tremendous. They have a tough job. Sometimes they sit in those meetings and there's 1 or 2 people in the audience that are paying attention, and they're sweating and going through these decisions. It's not easy. It's not easy to be an elected official in a small town. So, y'all coming out, don't let this be a one-time affair that you came out for this issue. Get involved in your city. There's a lot of wonderful things going on. There's a lot of cool things happening, but it takes all of us as a community to come together, have our differences, but we're all Lake Worth. And I'm so proud and happy to have had y'all here tonight. So if you have any questions, please come up and talk to staff, and we'll be able to go over the valuations if you have any questions on that. And I'll also have the rest of my staff available. Oh, Commissioner, he's raising his hand.
Well, you mentioned, City Manager, this is Chris Roy, one of the commissioners, that it's tough being a commissioner. I don't know, it's not too bad, but there was a lot of reference during the discussion to the commission's views on various things, and I wondered if I might say a few words in that light. I feel sort of a certain sense that we've all been elected to try and do our best as we can to represent the citizens, and I think it might be appropriate to do that. It's up to you. You're the boss. However, I was elected.
The purpose of this meeting was to provide information specifically and objectively about what the program was. Well, this is an awkward position, right? So we're not really trying to advocate for or against any positions. I'm sure there'll be opportunities, Commissioner, if you want to talk out at the back, if anybody wants to listen about.
I really think it's a little bit hard to take the position that the city is spending $50,000 to push the project and not let one of the commissioners speak and provide information. But it's up to you.
I think one of the concerns is, as opposed to a city council meeting where every commissioner gets to speak, if we open it up to one that's going to wind up, Ms. Deserti's going to want to speak, Vice Mayor Maxwell's going to want to speak.
I got no problem.
And let me just address the last part about the $50,000 that the city spent. I think many of you know that we have vetted every piece of literature that's gone out. The Palm Beach Post talked to the Inspector General's lawyer, and they agreed with us that every piece of literature the city has out there is factual and is accurate. And it's disappointing that PACs don't have to comply with that. And the only PAC material I saw was a red postcard on the way in that was misleading. It was quoted from the Palm Beach Post that was a positive editorial, and it seemed negative. So I would repeat what the manager has said. Go to the city's website. That's your source of accurate, factual information that's been reviewed by staff, by lawyers, by elected officials. And I think that's your best source of information.
Mike?